Good Friday afternoon, and thanks for joining us for THV 11 News at noon. I'm Brooke Buckner. Here's a look at what we've got coming up today. Former President Donald Trump is back on the campaign trail today, less than 24 hours since he pleaded not guilty to federal charges. We've got an update on what comes next for his case. Plus, you may not have thought about COVID-19 in a while, but cases are spiking here in Arkansas, and millions of people are still dealing with the long-term symptoms of the virus. And extreme heat continues to impact the globe, with concerns growing for our oceans and marine life, and even our local animals at the Little Rock Zoo. So let's get things straight over to meteorologist Corrales Ortiz. Corrales, are we going to see any kind of relief soon? This heat is brutal.
It has been very brutal indeed, and honestly, we are going to be seeing some relief right around the corner. Today, that's not the case, at least not for everyone. We once again are expecting these widespread heat alerts. You can see all those shades of pink there. Those are excessive heat warnings through the afternoon until at least this evening. Other locations across northern Arkansas are under heat advisories, but we could see heat index values climb up to as high as 115 or even more like we saw yesterday. As I mentioned, not the entire state dealing with this brutal heat right now. Matter of fact, northeast Arkansas temperatures are still holding steady at 80s, upper 70s. That's because the cloud cover is thicker there and they've been dealing with some rain. Here though in the metro, 97 already by noon, 112 for that heat index value. Surrounding areas already in the mid to upper 90s as of this afternoon. But as I mentioned, we have some relief in the forecast. I have those details coming up.
Thanks, Corrales. New information now at noon. A 15-year-old boy drowned in the Arkansas River overnight. First responders showed up at Little Rock's Murray Park around 9 p.m. after the boy's mother called 911. Investigators say the teen's family noticed he was missing as they prepared to leave the park after a day out on the water. According to the Pulaski County Sheriff's Office, the teen's body was pulled out near the Murray Park boat launch just after 11 p.m. Also developing overnight, reports of a shooting on Interstate 40 in North Little Rock. This is video from an RDOT camera just before midnight, showing a large police presence at exit 153 for JFK Boulevard. We saw several state troopers on scene along with paramedics. We're still working to confirm if anyone was shot or any arrests were made. This scene was cleared just before 2 a.m. Donald Trump headlines an Alabama Republican Party dinner tonight, his first official campaign event since pleading not guilty to 4 felony counts in Washington, D.C. The charges are related to the January 6th Capitol attack and what prosecutors call a sweeping scheme to overturn the 2020 presidential election. Natalie Brand is on Capitol Hill with more.
Former President Trump returns to the campaign trail Friday, one day after his historic arraignment in Washington, D.C. on charges he plotted to overturn the 2020 election.
This is a persecution of a political opponent. This was never supposed to happen in America.
He briefly addressed reporters after the hearing, where he pleaded not guilty to the 4 counts, including conspiracy to defraud the United States and conspiracy to obstruct an official proceeding. The judge said that charge alone could carry a maximum penalty of 20 years in prison. Outside the courthouse, crowds of protesters and supporters line the sidewalk along with a heavy police presence just blocks from the U.S. Capitol. Trump is facing charges related to January 6th. Hundreds of others who were charged in connection with the Capitol attack have already received sentences for their involvement.
The government conducted an investigation, has arrested over 1,000 individuals who breached the Capitol and participated in the riot.
Former federal prosecutor Scott Frederickson expects a key strategy for Trump's defense team will be to delay the case as much as possible.
You know, they have a legitimate basis. This is not an uncomplicated case. It's one of the most important cases ever filed, and they want and need time to prepare.
The next hearing date is set for later this month, just 5 days after the first GOP primary debate in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Washington.
In a THV 11 update, a Hot Springs man is now in jail following a string of break-ins we reported on last month at a nonprofit for cancer patients in Garland County. Hot Springs police arrested 46-year-old Gary Short. Police say he matches the description of a man with a dragon tattoo on his arm, seen leaving the property the same day more than $4,000 in copper wiring was stolen. You'll remember us telling you it was one of 6 thefts, costing the nonprofit nearly $70,000 in damages. It's unclear if Short was involved in all of those. A response from the state attorney general is expected next week, following a lawsuit from several smoke and vape shops. They're trying to remove the state's new ban on Delta 8 and other hemp products that just went into effect this month. THV 11's Ashley Godwin reports the sellers claim the law criminalizes their livelihood.
On July 31, he was just a farmer. On August 1st, this law made him a felon.
4 companies are suing the state of Arkansas for a new law banning hemp. Their attorney says this goes beyond just smoke shops and employees, but also farmers who are making a living with the plants.
I believe all of our clients support reasonable regulation of these substances. This law doesn't do that.
The attorney argues this law oversteps federal boundaries in 2 ways. First, President Trump signed the Farm Bill in 2018, which sets national standards for what hemp is and how it's produced. Second, it violates the protections of interstate commerce across state lines with the product.
That trucker, that employee, faces criminal sanction for having products that are now deemed to be illegal, despite what the federal law says.
Back in March, we spoke to the sponsor of the bill, Senator Tyler Deese. He said this law aims to stop kids from getting a hold of products with THC in them.
It's because of an accessibility issue where you can walk into a regular gas station and purchase this product as if you're purchasing Skittles or any other candy.
We reached out to him about the lawsuit and he said, quote, "I'm not surprised to see a lawsuit by those worried more about their profits than the protection of children and other consumers." We also reached out to Attorney General Tim Griffin about the lawsuit, and he said he supports the law and will vigorously defend it.
I believe the entirety of the act needs to be enjoined and set aside, and I think the legislature needs to come back and come up with something that's workable, that treats hemp for what it is, as an agricultural commodity.
For Wake Up Central, I'm Ashley Godwin.
Well, it's a topic we used to hear about daily, but now not so much. COVID cases have been on a slow decline in Arkansas over the past year, but the most recent Department of Health number shows an uptick in July, and the CDC is seeing a rise in hospital admissions nationwide. A local pediatrician tells us they've gone from having 1 case every couple of days to 1 or 2 every day.
We're watching for kids with the persistent fevers. You know, COVID's one that can give you these prolonged higher fevers for sure. Kids who feel and look a lot like flu and strep honestly wind up being COVID sometimes.
And this uptick doesn't just impact children. Clinics are seeing more adult COVID patients too. Doctors say this serves as a reminder to get vaccinated if you haven't already. You might know someone who has COVID right now, and you may even know someone still feeling the impacts of the virus months or even years after they were infected. As William Joy with our Dallas affiliate explains, around 23 million Americans are still suffering from long COVID.
I couldn't remember how to get to the Smoothie King that I used to go to all the time.
Callie Dobbins had COVID in 2020 and dealt with hair loss. Months later, she was dealing with memory issues and still is.
I'll repeat things over and over again, and my children will say, "You told us that yesterday, Mommy."
We start seeing quite a bit of patients reporting to us.
Dr. Ihab Ajar was at first confused in 2020 why COVID wasn't just resulting in issues breathing, but issues thinking.
Not just brain fog, but I can't do my job anymore.
The UT Southwestern neurology professor also noticed African Americans were diagnosed twice as much with long COVID as other ethnicities.
So that initiated this haha moment, like maybe we need to further understand or investigate that.
They're recruiting 400 people to study the issue. This week, the National Institute of Health began trials for treatments. Up to 23 million Americans have long COVID.
We need it. We need it. Having a solution to help us would matter greatly.
Hajar says brain fog and neurological issues like lack of smell and taste are likely linked. But right now, memory games are the only thing considered a treatment.
We don't know the treatment, obviously. We're still kind of in the initial phase.
COVID cases have seen a recent surge. Last week, more than 9,000 Texans reported testing positive, double the number from the first week in July. Researchers also want to learn if long COVID is permanent or if there could finally be relief.
Down the road, in 1 or 2 years, 3 years, maybe we will see a rash of people who have had COVID, but now they're having significant cognitive disorders and disabilities.
It's terrible. It didn't used to be that way.
In Dallas, I'm William Joy.
It may seem like summer went by all too fast, but back to school season is upon us. Tax-free weekend is back to help families get classroom ready. From just after midnight tomorrow to just before midnight on Sunday, you can pick up what you need without having to pay any sales tax. We've got a look at the stocked shelves at Walmart in West Little Rock, and workers there say they're ready to help.
We want it to be easy, convenient, and fun because it is an exciting time of the year. It's something we know families are gearing up for, and we look forward to being able to help them any way we can.
Keep in mind there are some rules to tax-free weekend. Clothing must be under $100 per item, and accessories have to be less than $50 per item. Pretty much any kind of electronics should qualify, as well as your basic school supplies. You can find the full list right now on thv11.com. Who doesn't love a good home makeover? After the break, we've got a preview of the newest season of Secret Celebrity Renovations that starts tonight on THV11. And a look at your weekend forecast. Corrales?
Yeah, a live look outside right now. It's hot, it's hazy, it's humid. But as we enter the weekend, we'll start to see some changes to this overall stagnant weather pattern, including cooler temperatures and even some rain as well. The latest details are coming up.